Hello everyone, Decav13 here, and welcome to a new thing I'm doing. We're gonna be reading through Fate Stay Night, the new remastered version that just came out yesterday. Uh, as someone who's been playing FGO for about, God, how long has it been? I want to say 8.5, not 8.5, like 6.5 years. I've never read the original Fate Stay Night. And I figured, hey, since the remaster's out now, I might as well go and fix that, shouldn't I? So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. I think I'll be trying to go for, because I know there's the three paths. I think I'm going to try to go for all three. We'll see. But yeah. I think this should be a lot of fun. Now I'm sure maybe people might be wondering, hey John, you've been really into streaming lately. Why not just stream this as well? I do have reasons for wanting to record this instead. First off being, I haven't really done like a video type thing in like, what, 6 months? So I should probably do one of those soon. Or, now. I figured that'd be nice to do. Yeah, really aside from that. That's mostly the reason why I wanted to do this. Also, if any editing needs to be done, I feel like it'll be a lot easier to do that in post than it will live on stream. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, let's say I boot this up and get started. Now, I have booted this up once, and it seems to just take me right into, well, something instead of a title screen, so that's why I haven't started the game yet on the recording. Alright, so let's launch this, see if it works on the recording. It does not. Are you fucking kidding me? With this shit? Okay. Now it wants to work. So scuffed already. Fantastic. Oh, man. Alright, well at least it's only gonna be scuffed for this first episode. Because I didn't know how to fucking do this. Okay, so yeah, this is where I left off. So we'll resume from here. So I haven't advanced the dialogue at all. This should still just be the beginning of the prologue. Okay, here we go. The tip of the sword was like a flash of lightning. A spearhead thrust to skewer the heart. Even attempting to evade it was pointless. It was but a flash, too swift for the human eye to follow. And yet, moonlight swept in to save me from the strike that threatened to end me. The sound was beautiful, like the tolling of a bell. No, truth be told, the sound hung over me, heavier than an iron weight. This beauty had little to do with aesthetics. The stark armor wrapped about her was like the frozen night itself. The ringing was not in itself pleasant. It was the sound of steel. But the night herself was beautiful enough to make it into the chiming of a bell. Might have to increase audio levels here. Her voice resonated in the darkness. Indeed, the pact was sealed. Just as she chose to serve me, I'm sure in that moment that I swore to save her. The moonlight cut through the darkness. As if in imitation of the night, the storehouse regained its former calm. Time had stopped. The vision before me had lasted less than a second. Be that as it may, I will always remember the sight of her, as clearly as if it were still happening now. even if I fall into the depths of hell. The faint slant of her profile, her serene, divinely green eyes. For a moment, time stopped, and her silhouette, draped in blue, swayed in the wind. I was struck by the pale blue glow. Her hair, as fine as golden thread, was bathed in moonlight. This happened 10 years ago. I see someone who takes me back. He's tall, with chiseled features. I've never known him to crack a joke. He ruffles my hair affectionately. No, that's not what this is. It's more like he's grasping my head and working it like a stubborn jar lid. Maybe he doesn't know how to control his strength. That's only to be expected. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. It's time for me to leave. You know what to do next. I answered yes in a somber voice. He nodded once, withdrew his hand, and stood up. That's all. Had I known this would be the last time we would ever see each other, I would have done my best to make him laugh with a perfect joke. I've been practicing punchlines in private in the hopes of finally seeing a smile crack that stony face. If I have one regret, it's that I never got to tell him any of my jokes. Aw. Get the association in your debt before you become an adult. Any decisions after that, I leave up to you. I'm sure you'll manage on your own. So he said, but I bet he was worried about me. He'd told me about our family's heirloom jewels, the gems passed down to us from our grandmaster, and how to manage the underground workshop. It was a rapid-fire course of subjects he'd never taught me before. Even as a child, I'd realized that he would probably never come home again. There was a war. Not a war between countries, but between people. But in this war, there were only 7 combatants. It might not have seemed fitting to call it a war, but having mages involved changes things. 7 mages from different factions competed, but I wasn't sure why. They killed each other using methods I didn't really understand. One of them was the man in front of me. It meant that he would kill and eventually be killed. I'm sure he felt the ticking of his life's clock even more keenly than I did. Rin, before long the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tohsakas to obtain it, but above all, it is a path we are destined to walk as mages. And with that, he ruffled my hair one last time and left. I never saw him again. My father/teacher is one of the masters who participated in the Holy Grail War. He never came home. I bid him farewell as a well-behaved daughter should. I knew I was on the verge of tears, but I didn't let them show. I loved him. He was a great father and an even greater mage. Mages are stubborn people. As far as I knew, there wasn't a more upstanding man in the whole world. As my instructor, he trained me. As my father, he loved me. So I decided I'd accept the things he left for me and choose my own path. Rin, before long the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tohsakas to obtain it, but above all, it is a path we are destined to walk as mages. In the end, his final words for me were given as a mage, not a father. That's the moment I made up my mind. It's only natural for an apprentice to live up to our master's hopes. That's how I, Rin Tohsaka, grew up after experiencing life's twists and turns. Oh, let me see something real quick. I just escaped. Okay, I can hit. Oh, there's a flow chart? That's nice. Config, yeah. Volume mix. Voices. That sounds good. I might change that off of full screen for next episode. Just so I have a better way of capturing this. Okay. It's been 10 years since my father went off to war. I wouldn't say I've been looking forward to this day, but I am a bit on edge. That goes without saying. After all, that moment which was burned into my memory 10 years ago will soon be upon me again. I might just need to turn this up in general. I'll see how that is. If we get audio back. Because I have my desktop audio down pretty low. I hear something. Ring ring. Yeah, that needs to go up quite a lot, huh? The noise doesn't stop. It's such an infernal racket, it's almost as if it's here to avenge my father. I'll have to see how everything's balanced after the episode, because I'll probably have to rebalance some things. I wish it'd just let me sleep a bit more. In fact, it should. I stayed up into the early hours deciphering my father's will, and I used a hell of a lot of magical energy to do it. I'm totally exhausted, body and mind. Ring, 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 ring. The alarm clock is deaf to my complaints. What kind of machine makes a noise that seems like its sole purpose is to remind you that you're late? True, but there's a time and a place for everything. No matter how much of an overachiever I am, I should try to make it to school on time at least for today, if only slightly. Doesn't that sound off? 30 minutes. Oh. I peer at the alarm clock through sleep-heavy eyelids. The hands point to 7 o'clock on the dot. I usually get up at 6:30, which means I've completely used up my safety margin. Speaking of which, why is my brain so slow in the morning? I glare at the alarm clock for several seconds. I shut off the alarm and climb sluggishly out of bed. The morning chill bites at me as I cross the hallway and enter the parlor. This is the final 7 a.m. in January. Winters in Fuyuki are relatively warm, but the mornings here are cold as anywhere. Even at home, my breath mists white. It's not much colder without anyone else living here. Oh, that sounds much louder now. Turn that back down a smidge. I turn on the heater and go wash up. Single living is so inconvenient at times like these. If there was someone else here to wake up before me, then the parlor would already be heated. I wash my face at the sink. I run a brush through my long hair and get dressed. A chilly morning in a frigid bathroom. The only thing to be said for it is that the cold water mercilessly beats the sleepiness from me. With a final tug on the ribbon at my collar, I finish getting dressed. All that's left is to have breakfast and go to school. The clock reads just past 7, so my morning rush feels a bit anticlimactic. Of course, I'd never do anything so uncouth as sprinting to school. The Tohsaka family motto dictates that we conduct ourselves with confidence and elegance at all times. My ancestors must have been some high and mighty aristocrats if that's what we've taught through the generations. The anachronistic mansion I've lived in is proof enough of that. Plus, the Tohsakas are a line of spellweavers who practice what is known as magecraft. We're not just an old family. We have an admirably storied history. In fact, I literally can't talk about it. The truth is, I'm a mage. Who could I even brag about that to? As the name suggests, magecraft is what most people would see as magic. It sounds like some supernatural woo-woo, and if you like to think of it as just wiggling your fingers and saying abracadabra, that's fine too. Just think of us as people who chant weird words and make equally weird stuff happen. That said, we don't fly around on broomsticks. We don't shoot stars out of wands either. We can do things kind of like that, but there's no point, so we don't. We're pretty much heretics who lurk in the shadows of society. We're not allowed to draw attention to ourselves, and anyone who has the time for that kind of thing would rather spend it on their research. Ordinary humans might call us magicians, but that would be wrong. In fact, there are only 5 magicians in the whole world. Magicians are what we call people who can do something no one else can. They can accomplish feats beyond the means of modern science and perform genuine miracles. Similarly, magic's the label we use for mystics, magical mysteries. But that can't be realized without any amount of, with any time. That can't be realized without, oh my god, why do I keep saying without? That can't be realized with any amount of time or skill. There you go, John. Got third time. While magecraft, though it looks mysterious, is something anyone can do with enough time and resources. I'm a mage, and the kind of mystics I use are merely magecraft, not true magic. Confusing, I know, but that's how it works. Also, modern civilization doesn't accept the existence of mages. We believe in, manipulate, and study things that can't be measured, which puts us at odds with modern society. Above all, there's no point to any of what we do. You'd be so much happier just going off to a normal school and becoming a normal adult than you would studying magecraft. Human technology has accomplished great things. For the last few centuries, magecraft has been playing catch-up to the progress of civilization. Nothing is impossible for humanity anymore. Miracles that can only be realized with magecraft in the distant past have been reduced to common tools and appliances. Even so, magecraft does have its benefits. Just as there are some things only science can accomplish. There remain heights only mystics can reach. If science is racing into the future, then mages are racing into the past. I think the Tohsaka Grandmaster said that. Whether you're heading into the past or the future, your destination is the same. 0. Or something like that. We can shelve the difficult topics for now. Philosophy is for the elderly. I finish my breakfast and pick up my bag.
そうだ、ペンダント持っていかないと。
I'm reluctant to take something so valuable to school, but it will be a waste to leave it behind.
何しろ100年ものの石だものね。うちにある宝石の中じゃダントツで最強だし。
One could say it is on an entirely different level. I obtained the gem after decoding my father's will last night. It's imbued with 10 years' worth of my own magical energy. I've been told that the Tohsaka family has heirloom jewels passed down since the olden days, and this might be one of them. Tohsaka mages specialize in the conversion and flow of power. We channel our magical energy into precious gems whenever we have a spare moment. Simply put, I'm the gun and the jewels are the bullets. The other main thing I've inherited from my father is the magic crest engraved into my left arm. A magic crest is proof that I'm the heir to our lineage. It's like all the techniques of the Tohsaka condensed into a tattoo.
まだ始まったわけじゃないけど、用心に越したことはないか。
For now, I stow my pendant, my father's keepsake, in a pocket.
切り札だものね。これに秘められた魔力なら、できないことはないぐらいなんだし。
Gotta remember, if it's quotes, I don't have to read it. It's 7:30. I better leave soon if I don't want to be late for school.
注意すfor your fallen dry.
I weave energy into a brief foreign phrase. As a mage, I can't neglect the security of my home base. That still applies even if I've never had so much as a single burglar, lost child, or stray cat wander into my home. Actually, I don't think the neighbors have ever even come over to say hello.
別にいいけどね。野良猫でさえ入ってこないってどういうことよ。
I look up at the mansion that's been my home for over a decade. Fuyuki is a strange city. One side of the intersection dividing the residential areas is filled with old samurai estates, whereas I'm on the side that has an abundance of mansions built in a European style. Apparently, a whole bunch of foreign families immigrated here long ago, but I've never seen a single foreigner around. There's even a cemetery for foreigners in Shinto, the new part of the city, across the river, but it was built for the generation that immigrated here.
日本の土が合わなかったのかな。
I make a mental note to ask the priest about it next time I visit the church. He's nothing if not full of boring trivia, for sure.
あれ
Something feels off as soon as I step outside.
なんだろう、思ったより静かなんですけど。
There's no trace of the typical morning bustle. At 7:30 in the morning, there would normally be students and workers on their daily commute.
まあ、こういう日もあるか。
Maybe everyone slept in. It's unusually cold today, so everyone must be snuggled up in bed.
けどさすがに。
Even if that were true, it's strange that there isn't a single student on the street. At this time of day, you'd expect to see at least a school uniform or two. And yet, from where I'm standing at the school gate, it looks like morning club activities are just starting up. Which can only mean...
あれ、Tohsaka? 今朝は一段と早いのね。
Her clock was set wrong, wasn't it?
やっぱりそうきたか。
With a light sigh, I turned to face the student who called out to me.
おはよう。今日も寒いね、こりゃ。
The girl who addresses me so casually is Ayako Mitsuzuri. She's my classmate in 2A, and she has quite a history.
おはよう、三辻さん。つかぬことを聞くけど、今何時だかわかる？
何時って7時前じゃない。Tohsaka寝ぼけてる？
She waves her hand in front of my face as if to ask if anybody's home. Ayako is one of my new friends, and she knows I'm not a morning person. She's probably figured out by now that I'm still not completely with it.
うちの時計1時間早かったみたい。しかも軒並み。目覚まし時計はおろか、柱時計まできっかり早まってた。
Good job, Rin. What's going on here? Father must have set the clocks to go haywire once I took the pendant out of the underground cellar.
Tohsaka?
気にしないで。別に大したことじゃないから。それより、三辻さんは今日も朝練？
ええ、弓道部は問題児も多いし、上手いのが一人減ったからね。4月の新入生獲得のために少しぐらいは見栄えを良くしとかないと。
そう、気苦労が絶えないのね、相変わらず。
他人事だからって言ってくれるわ。あ、ついでだから見ていく？Tohsakaが見学する分には男どもも喜ぶけど。
弓道部か。
I'm acquainted with 3 of its members. One is Ayako, the girl I'm talking to now. I barely ever speak to the other 2. Of those latter 2, there's one that I actually can't explain away as simply an acquaintance. I became friends with Ayako, the club captain, because I'd been watching the club from afar.
そうね、様子を見るだけなら付き合うわ。早く来すぎたからやることもないし。
よし、じゃあ善は急げ。早速行こう。
One of our school's trademarks is its well-equipped archery range. The chair of the school board has a passion for kyudo, traditional Japanese archery, so they built a magnificent range on campus. It's kind of a waste for a high school club, to be honest.
ほらほら、まだ開始まで時間があるし、中でお茶しようぜ、Tohsaka。
Ayako tugs on my arm, looking somewhat pleased. If I'm being honest, her brusque way of speaking is a bad habit. As Ayako said, there's no one else at the range. We sip Japanese tea that's so hot it numbs my tongue as we prepare ahead for today's classes. The hot drink is delicious in the quiet, wintry archery range.
さて、単刀直入に聞くけど、そっちの調子はどうなのよ、Tohsaka。いい加減頼りになる相棒は見つかった？
And she uses the occasion to ask me something completely ridiculous.
ほんと、いきなり本題に入るのね、あなたは。その言いぶりだと、そっちはもう見つけたんだ。
ノーコメント。Tohsakaが手を沸かすまではこっちも秘密さ。で、どうなのよ。その疲れた顔を見ると脈ありって感じだけど。
こっちもノーコメント。あなたに隠してもどうせ見抜かれるか。残念ながらこっちはまだよ。綾子の方はお互いのんびりしてる余裕はないはずだけど。
そうなんだけど、私も雲行きは怪しいわ。 とりあえず取り繕うことはできるけど、ことがことでしょ。この先の命運がかかってるんだから妥協するわけにもいかないし。
勝手に決めて私に負けるのも嫌。
Strangely competitive about it.
もちろん私にとって重要なのはあんたを任すことだもの。何が手に入るとか何を手に入れるとかは二の次よ。
She chuckles confidently.
似た者同士ね、私たち。
ええ、初めて会った時に言ったでしょ。あんたとはそういう関係にあるんだって。
She did, didn't she? Kill or be killed. I'm sure that's how it'll be between the two of us. I was genuinely surprised to have someone say that right off the bat. Translation. Our friendship won't bloom unless we're constantly trading blows, is what Ayako was getting at. I agree with her. In 2 years since then, I still haven't figured out whether she's my friend or my nemesis.
ところでさ、私たちなんでこんな話してるんだっけ？
なんでって言い出したのは遠坂でしょ。あんたがいつまでも彼氏がいないのは女としてどうよなんてこぼすもんだから。なら3年になる前にどっちが先に男作るかって勝負になったんじゃない。
ああ、そうだった。売り言葉に買い言葉ってやつだった。で、遅れを取った方が一日言いなりになるんだっけ？
ええ、今時子供でも交わさない約束だけど、あんたと私に限って往生際が悪いってことはないでしょ。どんな結果になろうと負けた方はおとなしく勝者に従うことになる。それを思うと私は今から楽しみで楽しみで。
Ayako snickers in delight. My goodness. Ayako Mitsuzuri is, to put it mildly, a handful. I'll admit, I'm looking forward to winning myself, so that goes for both of us.
そう。けど三辻さん、楽しむのは結構だけど目的を違えないよう気をつけなさい。勝負の内容は後先だけじゃないでしょ。
分かってるって。遠坂より早く遠坂が心底羨ましがるような関係にならないと完全勝利とは言えないからね。まあ私たちにとってはそれが一番厄介な問題なんだが、どんなにいい男だろうと好きになれなきゃ意味がない。
Ayako's sigh is heavy. From what I've heard, she's known as a bit of a misandrist. Can't put too much stock in gossip, though. That she made this bet at all means less that she just doesn't like boys, and more that she hasn't found the right person. That aside...
ちょっと、私たちって何よ、私たちって。断っておきますけど、私はそっちと違って冷血感じゃありません。男の子を好きになるなんて問題でも何でもないわ。
ああ、それ嘘。もしくは気づいていないだけ。遠坂が男を気にかけるなんてことは絶対ないもの。今まで数えきれないぐらい告白されたくせに一つも色良い返事してないじゃない。少しでも興味があるなら付き合おうって思うでしょ。なのに断り続けるってことはあんたは男に興味がないってことよ。
発想が貧困ね。その場合すでに好きな相手がいるから断ってるって話もありじゃない？
うわ、すっごい美談。いいね、そういうの。ロマンだな。
Ayako's tone isn't mocking. She nods solemnly. Her sigh tells me that it would be nice if it were true. I don't believe myself. I really can't hide anything from her.
そうね。私もそう思う。
She's right. I know very well how cold I am.
認めるわ。私、こと恋愛に関しては素人みたい。
そういうこと。似た者同士だって言ったのも遠坂でしょ。ってもうじき7時か。秘密の話はこの辺にしとこう。いつ人がやってくるかわからないし、朝になったら学生らしく振る舞わないとな。
まあ、三辻さんにもそういう世間体があったなんて意外だわ。ええ、これだけでも早起きした甲斐があったみたい。
ふん、あんたほど筋金入ってないけどね。 私の世間体なんて遠坂凛に比べたら灯籠の斧ってもんよ。あんたの猫かぶりは擬態っていうより別人格のレベルよ。別人格。
Friends like these two, who needs an enemy? Ayako sniffs exaggeratedly. I empty the rest of the teacup she poured me and brew a new pot.
で、遠坂はどうして部活に入らないのよ。運動神経がないなんてざれ言は聞かないからね。私は去年の体力測定でことごとくあんたに負けたのまだ恨んでるんだから。
あら、肺活量では三辻さんに負けたわよ、私。あと体重も三辻さんのが上だったけど。
I don't think she'd be happy to hear that, Ren.
やったー、重さで3キロ上回った。
Maybe she is.
って体重で勝っても嬉しくないってのよ、このタヌキ。
Ayako slaps the table.
危ない、お茶がこぼれるでしょ、三辻さん。首相なんだから道場は大事になさい。
うるさい。私は首相である前に遠坂のライバルだ。部員がいなけりゃあんたに食ってかかるのは当然よ。
Ayako side-eyes me with a huff. She has a unique idea about beauty. A beautiful woman must walk the martial path. She's always going on about that. Not surprisingly, she's well versed in most martial arts. Kyudo was the discipline she was least skilled at, so she joined the club and worked her way up to captain. She's probably one of the top 3 people in our school you'd least want to mess with.
あら、部員がいなければ首相じゃないなんて問題発言じゃないそれ。
問題発言なもんですか。私はお飾りの首相だから、できることって言ったら不良部員を取り締まることだけよ。私以上にしゃがりっぱなやつがいるんだから、首相としての面目なんてないわ。
そうなの？藤村先生、三辻さんは飛び抜けてうまいって言ってたけど。
あの人がそう言うんならそりゃ少しは自信が持てるけど、まあいなくなっちまったやつのことなんて考えても仕方ないか。そうね、藤村先生がそう言ってくれたんなら真面目に首相やんないとまずいか。
そうそう、噂をすれば影。そろそろ部員がやってくる頃でしょ。私はおいとまするけど、三辻さんはきちんと首相になりなさい。
何、見ていかないの？シャ。
見てもわからないもの。遠くから眺める分にはいいけどね。不心得者が道場にいるわけにはいかないでしょ。
Just as I get up to leave, the first club members begin entering the archery range.
おはようございます、首相。
ああ、おはようマト。今朝は一人？
はい、力になれず申し訳ありません。
ああ、いいっていいって。本人が弓をやらないって言うんなら無理をさせても仕方がない。
Ayako speaks to the first club member to arrive.
それじゃあ失礼するわ。また後でね、三辻さん。
ああ、また後でね、遠坂。
お疲れ様です、遠坂先輩。ありがとう。さくらもしっかりね。
I leave the dojo behind so as not to get in the way.
やあ、遠坂。おはよう。
Oh boy.
朝から君に会えるなんてついてるな。
Oh no. And here comes the person I least wanted to see.
おはよう、マトくん。今日は早いのね。
当たり前だろ。首相なんだから早めに来ないと1年に示しがつかないじゃないか。
Shinji Mato from Class 2C grins at me. He's the vice captain of the Kyudo Club and darling of half the girls at school. It's mostly thanks to his looks, of course, but he's also admired for his good grades, social graces, and being kind to girls, and being an overall heartthrob, or something like that. I really don't follow that kind of stuff. It's just what I hear my classmates say.
そう。ご機嫌なところ悪いんだけど、一文字抜けてるわ、マトくん。大事な字だから忘れない方がいいと思うけど。
一文字抜けてるって何がさ。
幸福の福。 字は違うけど響きは一緒でしょ、副首相さん。気をつけなさい。別に首相も副首相も変わらないけど、変に意識するとこだわってるみたいに聞こえるでしょ。
Cut him down.
そうだね。今後は気をつける。ありがとう、遠坂。
お礼を言われるようなことはしてないけど、まあマト君がそう思ったのなら私には関係ないか。
With that, I turn to leave the range.
ちょっと待てよ。見学に来たんだろ。なら見ていけばいいじゃないか。
遠慮するわ。練習の邪魔をしたくないもの。
そんなの構わないよ。他の連中が気に障るんなら締め出すからさ。ちょっと寄っていけって。
だから邪魔をする気はないって言ってるでしょ。それに私別に弓道に興味があるわけじゃないから。知らないやつのシャを見ても嬉しくないわ。
なんだよ遠坂。弓道に興味はなかったのか。へえ。だっていうのに放課後になると遠くから見てたのはそういうわけかな。
I don't know what he's playing at, but he seems to have seriously misunderstood things.
なんだ、知ってたのマト君。
ああ、よく目があったんだぜ、僕と遠坂。茶を終えてさ、斬新の時に限って遠坂は僕を見ていたろ。声を返したかったけど一応決まりでね。車上では声を上げちゃいけないんだ。
Jeez. Shinji starts closing in on me, looking pleased with himself. I see the triumphant glint in his eye, competing with that affable smile.
勘違いしてたよ。遠坂は弓が好きなんだと思ってたけど、弓道には興味がないんだろ。ならなんで遠坂は道場を見ていたのかな。
Ah, now I see. It would sound like that, wouldn't it?
離れてくれないかしらマト君。私あまり人に近寄られるのは好きじゃないし。
なに遠坂。
あきれた。ここまで言ってもわからないのね。趣味じゃないけど仕方ないか。簡単にあなたにも理解できるように言ってあげる。いいマト君。私は弓道に興味がない以上にあなたに興味はないって言ってるのよ。実際あなたが車上にいたなんて今初めて知ったぐらいだし、きっとこれからも目に入らないわ。
なんだと。
I must have touched a nerve, because he tries to grab me roughly. And there's his true colors. I twist out of his reach and turn to leave.
それじゃあねマト君。自意識過剰なのも結構だけど、ほどほどにしておいた方がいいわよ。
遠坂、お前。
Shinji sounds like he's about to say something, but he keeps his temper and doesn't chase after me. The guy is all style, no substance. If he had even a little backbone, people around him wouldn't suffer nearly so much. I take the rear entrance into campus from the archery range. It's past 7 now, but there still aren't students in the hallways.
あれ、遠坂さんだ。おはようございます、藤村先生。
おはよう遠坂さん。ちゃんと挨拶してくれて先生は嬉しいよ。
The strange woman pretends to sob in delight. It may be hard to believe, but this extraordinarily affectionate and happy-go-lucky woman is actually a teacher here.
先生、ちゃんと挨拶をする以外にする挨拶があるのでしょうか。
あるわよ。1年生はちゃんと挨拶してくれるんだけどね、上級生になってくると私の名字で挨拶しないんだから。
はあ、よくわかりませんけど、先生に失礼なことはしませんが。
よしよし。ああ、みんながみんな遠坂さんみたいだったらいいのにな。
With a parting wave and a see ya, Miss Fujimura leaves. Fortunately, she isn't my homeroom teacher. Miss Fujimura teaches English. Her sunny attitude belies her expert rank in Japanese fencing, kendo. In her student days, they called her the Fuyuki Tiger. That's the mystery, though. You'd think someone known as a tiger would be feared, not adored, right? Miss Fujimura cheerily heads off in the direction of the archery range. For some reason, she's the faculty advisor to the Kyudo Club instead of the Kendo Club. It's just before 7:30. I can see students doing their club activities on the school grounds, but there's hardly anyone indoors. Except...
Tohsaka?
He always blurts out my name like I did something wrong every time he sees me.
あら、生徒会長。こんな朝早くから校舎の見回り？それとも各部室の手入れかしら？どっちでもいいけど相変わらず豆ね、そういうとこ。
そういうお前こそ何を企んでいる？部活動もしていないお前がこんな早くに何の用か？
ただの気まぐれよ。竜斗くんちみたいに早起きじゃないもの、私。
The student council president's handsome face darkens with suspicion. He seems to have it out for me. I really don't know why. Maybe me saying temples are so dull past is what started it.
一つ聞いておくが、最近夜遅くまで校舎にいたことはあるか、登坂？
ないわね。私が帰宅部だって知ってるでしょ、竜斗くんは。
当然だ。生徒会長を任された以上、全校生徒の情報は把握している。
そう。なら私に聞くまでもないでしょ。なんだってそんなことを聞くか知らないけど、生徒会の仕事を部外者に押し付けちゃまずいんじゃない？情報収集は一人でやりなさいよ。私みたいな部外者に頼らないで。
たわけ、お前のどこが部外者だ？うちの会計の首根っこ掴んで悪さをしたのを知らぬと思ったが、このめぎつれ。
あら、人聞きが悪いわね。あれは三辻さんに頼まれて部費の割合を明らかにしただけでしょ。みんなの予算がどこに使われているか調べるなんて生徒として当然の行為だと思うけど。
なんと、うちの会計を1週間休ませた精神的ダメージが当然の行為なのか？とんでもない倫理観をお持ちのようだな、相変わらず。
あなたもね、部下の手綱ぐらいちゃんと握ってなさい。文化系ばかりひいきするのはフェアじゃないわ。
分かっている。だからこそ俺の手で不正を正したかったのだが。
No voice for him? It's fixed, you say? Just then, an unexpected visitor makes his presence known.
と、悪い。頼んだのはこっちなのに、エミヤに任せっきりにしてしまった。許せ。
Don't worry about it. Where's the next one? We don't have much time.
ああ、次は視聴覚室だ。前から調子が悪かったそうなんだが、この度ついに天寿を全うされた。
It's completely broken. I can't fix it. Be easier to buy a new one.
そうなんだが、一応見てくれると助かる。俺から見れば臨終だが、お前から見れば仮病かもしれん。
Okay, I'll try. Beckoned by the other student, the president leaves. I stopped thinking during the sudden turn of events. The other boy, wrench and screwdriver in hand, turns as if he's remembered something. You're early today, Tohsaka. He awkwardly mutters and leaves. Was that supposed to be a greeting? The president and the student called Emiya walk off into the distance. That would be Shiro Emiya from Class 2C.
それはいいんだけどさ。
How do I put it? The wrench looked right at home in his hands, but I'm not sure if it's because it makes him look tough or handy. At 7:30 a.m., there's nobody else in classroom 2A. I take a seat at my desk and flip through my math workbook. There's still 30 minutes until morning homeroom. I've got time to kill until my classmates start arriving. Classroom is lively as lunch break begins after 4th period. My school is a cafeteria, so only about half of the students stay in the room. It's mostly girls that stay behind. The girls think the cafeteria is a bit too liberal with seasoning, so.
遠坂さん、よかったらお昼ご飯一緒に食べませんか？
We girls tend to enjoy our lunches as a group.
ありがとう、三枝さん。けどごめんなさい、私今日は学食なんです。今朝は寝過ごしてしまってお弁当を作る余裕がなかったものですから。
Wonder why she would
そ
say
う
that.
なんですか。ごめんなさい、そうとも知らず呼び止めてしまって。私余計なことしましたね。
Saigusa looks guiltily at her feet. Among the refined and well-behaved students of Class A, she's the most demure. For some reason, she's really nice to me.
余計なことだなんてそんなことはありません。今日はたまたまだから気にしないで。また明日これに懲りず声をかけてください。
I let her down as gently as I can and offer a genuine smile.
はい。でも遠坂さんでも寝過ごすことがあるんですね。
Perhaps my smile made her feel better. Saigusa turns back to her table, looking relieved. She's adorable. Yurika Saigusa isn't drop-dead gorgeous, but her smile always puts everyone around her at ease.
ええ、そうなんです。なんとかごまかしてますけど、本当は寝ぼすけなんですよ、私。部活だって朝起きられないから入ってないんです。
Saigusa somehow maintains an elegant air even when startled. Watching her reactions is always so calming. But that doesn't mean I have time to just stand here and talk. Let me do something real quick. I'll lower the volume just a little bit more. This does seem like it is a bit high compared to my voice. I think that should be okay. If I keep up a conversation with someone so disarming, the real me is bound to show herself.
それじゃあ食堂に行ってきます。三枝さんもごゆっくり。はい、遠坂さんも。
Saigusa and I exchange some graceful greetings, and she returns to her friends. I see that she's eating with Kaede Makidera and Kane Himuro. Oh right, wasn't Saigusa the track and field club manager? Makidera and Himuro are on the track and field club, they're the track and field club's rising stars. Makidera is a bad influence with whom I go window shopping on days off, but I don't know Himuro too well.
お、売られたね、ゆきっち。だから言ったでしょ、遠坂は弁当持ってこないって。釣りたかったらあいつの分も飯用意しないとね。
マキ、それは私たちも食堂に移動すればいいだけの話では。
ダメダメ、食堂は狭いんだから。弁当組が座れるスペースなんてねっての。それに遠坂と同席してみなさい。前の休みだってさ、二人で遊びに行ったのにあいつだけ得しちゃってさ。やだよね、美人を鼻にかけた優等生は。
Oh, poor Saigusa. Makidera takes hold of Saigusa's desk as she continues to rant about me. Despite her foul mouth, she actually wears a kimono really well, like a picturesque Japanese beauty.
牧野氏、君の陰口は遠坂城に聞こえているようだが。
Meanwhile, Himuro's cool and solid demeanor are a complete foil to that of Makidera.
やべ、遠坂に聞かれた。ゲゲ、めっちゃ睨んでるじゃん、あいつ。
別に遠坂さん、マキちゃんを睨んでなんかないと思うけど。
睨んでんだよ、あれ。あいつは笑ってる時が一番怖いんだから。なんだよ、いいじゃんか口ぐらい。多めに見ろよ。私と遠坂の仲だろ。たい焼きおごってやっただろ。
Kaede Makidera puffs her cheeks out in a pout, waving her disposable chopsticks in the air. Would you believe that her hobby is collecting wind chimes? The world works in strange ways. At any rate, it's rude to Saigusa to stare at the three of them. Caught between me and the foul-mouthed Makidera, Saigusa looks like she doesn't know what to do with herself.
気にしないでいいのよ、三枝さん。それと牧寺さん、おごらされたのは私で、品物はたい焼きではなくクレープでした。無意識に事実を改ざんする悪癖、次あたりに直さないと考えますよ。
マジ怖え、あの笑顔。
Makidera holds up her lunchbox lid like some kind of shield. I bid the odd trio farewell, leave the classroom. Slide the door closed. Oops.
なんだよ、大差ないじゃんか、たい焼きもクレープも。どっちも甘いの、皮で包んでるんだからさ。
Makidera utters something blasphemous for a girl. She
たい焼きとクレープが同じですって？
she even human? Are all desserts the same to her? If I'd known that her taste buds can't distinguish Fleur's 500 yen very, very berry from an 80 yen taiyaki at Edomaya, damn you, Kaede Makidera. I could have saved 420 yen!
何本気で悔しがってるんだ私。
Yeah, there's the Rin I know. I must still be tired from last night. Cafeteria sounds like a pain, so I'll just buy some bread from the counter and eat on the roof. I purchase my lunch and head to the unoccupied roof. Though it's different in the summertime, during the winter the roof is a convenient place to eat that other students tend to avoid. It's too cold to hang out here during lunch, but that's a small price to pay for privacy.
さて、とりあえずご飯と。
I indulge in the tomato sandwich and hot lemon drink that I bought from the cafeteria. It's a simple lunch, made all the more delicious by the fact that I can enjoy it up here in peace. I finish the sandwich and sip on the warm lemony drink. I'm a little tired. It's hard to balance being an overachiever with avoiding human contact as much as possible. As the saying goes, one should be accomplished at both the pen and the sword. It's a point of pride, no, conviction, that I be the top student at the school. I decided that if I was going to be a student, then I would be the very best. I don't want people looking down on the Tohsaka name. That's how Rin Tohsaka came to be a perfect, flawless student. On the other hand, my occupation as a mage is dangerous, so I shouldn't associate too much with normal people. When a mage is discovered by the public, she has no choice but to eliminate witnesses to protect herself. I'd rather not resort to that. That's why I keep my social interactions purely superficial out of necessity. I only hang out with Makidera on my days off, and I turn down invitations from more sociable people like Saigusa. It's difficult walking the tightrope of being the #1 student at school while making sure I don't become anybody else's #1. And sure, there are times when it tires me out and I feel like life is a real drag.
もう時間か。
I finish the hot lemon drink and stand up. That's enough sentimentality for today. Time to go back downstairs and become Rin Tohsaka again.
ではホームルームを終了する。日直は日誌と戸締まりの確認を。部活動のない生徒は速やかに帰宅するように。
Class 2A's teacher gives his usual spiel and leaves the room. As far as I know, he said it exactly the same way all year.
Tohsaka、今日はもうお帰り？
ええ。朝方麻藤君と一見あったし、面倒になる前に帰るわ。
やっぱりそうか。麻藤のやつ、今朝は特に荒れてたからさ。Tohsaka、
そう。迷惑をかけてしまったかしら、三辻さん。
別に麻藤が下級生をいびるのはいつものことだし、あれはあれでいい精神鍛錬になるよ。
そう、よかった。じゃあこの埋め合わせはまた今度。
はいはい、これに懲りずまた寄っていってちょうだい。
I make my way home without taking any detours. My time as Rin Tohsaka, the honor student, ends once I leave the school. The next half of the day is reserved for the other me. I have to become a mage of the Tohsaka. When I arrive back at the house, I'm greeted with the pulsing light of my answering machine.
留守電なんて珍しいな。相手はやっぱりあんたか、キレ。
Do I get to hear my guy's voice already? I have a feeling I know what he's going to say, but I better listen or I won't hear the end of it later. I press the play button and hear a familiar male voice.
私だ。分かっていると思うが、期限は明日までだぞ、リン。
あまり悠長に構えられては困る。残る席はあと2つだ。早々にマスターを揃えねばならん。
The priest cuts straight to the point.
マスターの権利を放棄するというのなら今日中に連絡しろ。予備の魔術師を派遣するにも時間がかかる。
Liar. I bet you could find a backup right away.
お前にはすでに0時の兆しが現れているのだ。さっさとサーバントを召喚し0時を開け。もっとも聖杯戦争に参加しないというのならば話は別だ。命が惜しいのなら早々に教会に駆け込むがいい。
The voicemail ends. It was a clear message in simple language. If you're going to fight, then be ready by today. If you aren't, then retire, because you're in the way.
言われなくても分かってるわよ。
It's only to be expected, I guess. Today's the last day I can drag this out. Thankfully, I managed to decipher Father's notes yesterday. My battle preparations are in order. All that's left is to seize the right to participate, as he said.
聖杯戦争。たった一つきりの聖杯を奪い合う殺し合い。何百年も前から伝わってきた聖杯の儀式か。
The mages who take part in the Holy Grail War are called masters. It doesn't denote a rank of any kind. It merely describes their role. There's a condition to participate in the Holy Grail War. You must summon a familiar called a servant and form a contract with them. Regardless of your skills as a mage, you are not recognized as a master unless you command a servant. There's a clear difference between servants and normal familiars. The way you summon and use them are different. Mages who plan to fight in the Holy Grail War prepare summoning catalysts, but...
ほんと、父さんもセイバーにゆかりのものを残してくれればよかったのに。
I don't own any relics with a connection to a servant. I can summon one, yes. In fact, I could do it right now if I wanted to, as well as form a contract. This town's ley lines are under the jurisdiction of the Tohsaka. I'm the heir to a clan that's administered the land for generations, so my performance will not take a backseat from some visiting mage. Although, while that is true, it'd be awfully incompetent of me to embark on a figurative voyage without a compass.
サーバントはシンボルによって引き寄せられる。強力なサーバントを呼び出したいのなら、そのサーバントにゆかりのあるものが必要不可欠なのだ。
In other words, I'd need some outrageously valuable item, like a sword or a piece of armor that a servant owned, or maybe a bone or heraldry related to them.
父さんの遺言に期待してたんだけどな。これはこれでものすごい切り札なんだけど。
The pendant I discovered in the basement last night is an ancient artifact of the highest quality. It's amazing all on its own. Still, it won't help me summon a servant.
いいわよ。そんなものに頼らなくたってなんとかなるわ。そもそも私以外にセーバーを扱えるマスターなんているはずないし。
Alright, I've made up my mind. I'd rather not get another earful, and waiting until the last minute doesn't sit right with me. Now the real challenge begins. Tonight I'm going to summon a servant while I'm in peak condition, and acquire Saber by force. Late night. The clock reads almost 2 a.m. This is the period where everything lines up. My condition peaks at 2 a.m. sharp. Oh, Rin. You've forgotten something vitally important. In terms of limits, this will be my first and last chance, so I can't afford even the slightest mistake. Already screwing yourself.
消去の中に大挙。大挙の陣を4つ刻んで、召喚の陣で囲んだ。
Inscribe magic circles into the floor of the basement. Actually, it doesn't take a major evocation to call forth a servant. Servants are invited by the Holy Grail. Masters anchor them to the world and supply the magical energy to materialize them, but the servants are the ones who choose to respond to the summons.
ソニ、銀と鉄。礎に石と契約の対抗。ソニは我が大使、シュバインオーグ。降り立つ風には壁を。司法の門は閉じ、王冠よりに出。王国に至るサンサルは循環せよ。
Still, I need to keep cautious and focus. Magic circles are normally drawn with blood, but tonight I draw mine with melted jewels. I'm using up half the jewels I've accumulated over my lifetime, so I'll never financially recover from this if it fails.
満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ。繰り返し都度に5度。ただ、満たされる時を破却する。
It's almost 2 a.m. I finish drawing the summoning circle passed down through the Tohsaka line and face it with all my being.
アンフォン。
I flick a formless switch within myself. With a click, I feel my insides turn over to something else. My normal nerves invert and become circuits for conducting magical energy. Rin Tohsaka is no longer human. She's just a component in the execution of mystics. I melt from my fingers. No, I'm filled up from my fingers. The mana I'm taking in is so dense it overwrites my bodily sensations. That's why I'm being destroyed at the same time I'm being filled. Running through my body is the power, mana, from the atmosphere. I convert it into a different type of energy through my body's circuits. A mage's body is nothing but circuits. Oh shit. Wrong button. Right button. Accidentally clicked on something. Circuits to connect the ethereal to the material. The mystical outcome we produce is what we call magecraft. My body grows hot. It seems like horns are growing from my forehead. It seems like wings are sprouting from my back. It seems like scales are covering my hands. It feels like there's water pooling around my ankles. Sweat drips. Stab, stab. Swords pierce my body. These are the stigmata that reject my body, which become a circuit. No matter how gifted a mage is, we're only human. In a human body, the pain is something we must live with whenever we use magecraft. The cycle doesn't let up. Oh, by moving the mouse down, I'm able to hide the dialogue box. That's good to know. Beyond the agony, deep within the trance, lies the mental state necessary for the connection. Pain wriggles in my left arm. To aid the caster, my magic crest autonomously begins an incantation, invading my nervous system. The mana in the atmosphere I've taken in turns to blood. It's like molten lead, while my activated magic crest resembles thorny nerves. With a crunching sensation, it creeps through my body like a thorny centipede. Within the hurt, I forget myself. At the same time, I can feel it taking hold of me, like I've reached where I need to go. My hypersensitive hearing picks up the ticking clock in the parlor. 10 seconds left until 2 a.m. The power filling my body is unquestionably complete. Time to begin. I convert the mana I've collected into magical energy for fixation. All that's left is to feed all that energy into the engine, the summoning circle, until my body runs dry.
告げる。汝の身は我が元に。我が命運は汝の剣に。聖杯のウルベに従い、この断りに従うならば答えよ。
vision goes dark. What lies before me now is the fifth factor, said to be imperceptible to the naked eye. My vision shuts off on its own, fearing what it might see.
伝えよここに我は常世すべての善となるもの我は常世すべての悪を仕組み汝三代の言霊をまとう七点抑止の輪より来たれ天秤の守り手よ
I went off without a hitch. It feels so perfect, it's like I'm reeling in a whale with a fishing rod. Flawless. I'm positive I just drew the strongest card. I can't wait for my vision to return. It'll take a few more seconds, but when it does, I'm sure the strongest servant will be nowhere in sight.
はい
Nothing's there. The room doesn't look different at all. I spun that much ether into this ritual only for absolutely nothing to materialize. On top of that, I think I just heard something explode in the parlor.
なんでよ
I bolt. My head's empty at this point. I just run. I race up the stairs from the basement.
扉壊れてる
The door to the parlor is askew off its hinges. There isn't any point in turning the doorknob. And since it won't open whether I push or pull,
もう邪魔だかな
I kick it down and burst into the room. And the moment I enter the parlor, everything becomes clear. Hey, buddy. Everything is in tatters. Rubble strewn across everything, as if something has fallen through the ceiling. On top of it all sits a man cocking his head arrogantly. He must be some kind of criminal. But something graver draws my attention. The grandfather clock, having escaped destruction, tells the time precisely. Now I remember. Right, of course. The clocks were an hour ahead today, weren't they? Which means it's 1 a.m. Oh, Rin. Still a full hour left until I'm in peak spellcasting form.
またやっちゃった
I can complete tasks as well as anybody else, but suffer from the curse of my genetics. When it really counts, I somehow manage to bungle things on an unbelievable level.
やっちゃったことは仕方ない反省
I can't believe my own stupidity. Still irritated, I direct my glare at the man lounging haughtily on the rubble.
それであんた何
開口一番それか。これはまたとんでもないマスターに引き当てられたものだ。
The man in the red mantle shakes his head in a show of exasperation. To add insult to injury, he mutters something about drawing the short straw. Oh, now I'm dead certain. This guy has a messed up personality. And is this a servant? I thought familiars were shapeless beings, but this is just a man. No, not just a man. Even from here I can tell that it's brimming with a shocking amount of magical energy. Don't be fooled by its appearance. I'm staring at something that's undoubtedly more than human. It's a human-shaped ghost that's on the level of an elemental. This is no time to be dumbstruck. That thing belongs to me. I need to get my head in the game.
確認するけどあなたは私のサーバントで間違いない？
それはこちらが聞きたいな。君こそ私のマスターなのか？ここまで乱暴な召喚は初めてでね。正直状況がつかめない。
私だって初めてよ。そういう質問は却下するわ。
そうか。だが私が召喚された時に君は目の前にいなかった。
本気？ひな鳥じゃあるまいし、目を開けた時にしか主を決められないなんて冗談はやめてよね。
The unidentified servant frowns and a grunt escapes his lips. Maybe he didn't like the way I said it, though he has a mixed reaction, as if still impressed by the logic in my words.
まあいいわ。私が聞いているのはね、あなたが他の誰でもないこの私のサーバントかってことだけよ。 それをはっきりさせない以上他の質問に答える義務はないわ。
召喚に失敗しておいてそれか。この場合他に色々と言うべきことがあると思うのだが。
そんなのないわよ。主従関係は一番初めにはっきりさせておくべきものだもの。
The servant's eyebrow twitches. He isn't even bothering to hide his dissatisfaction with me. I wonder if it's because of the half-baked summoning.
主従関係ははっきりさせておくか。やることは失点だらけだが口だけは達者らしいなあ。確かにその意見には賛成だ。どちらが強者でどちらが弱者なのか明確にしておかなければお互いやりづらかろう。
The servant eyes me meaningfully, still relaxing on the rubble of my living room.
どちらが弱者かですって？
ああ、私もサーバントだ。呼ばれたからには主従関係を認めるさ。だがそれはあくまで契約上の話だろう。どちらがより優れたものか共に戦うにふさわしい相手かを測るのは別になる。さてその件でいくと君は私のマスターにふさわしい魔術師なのかな、お嬢さん。
The servant smirks. First he destroys my house and acts like he's king of the castle, and now he has the nerve to ask whether I'm worthy?
あなたの意見なんて聞いてないわ。私が聞いているのはあなたが私のサーバントかどうかってことだけよ。
I repeat myself, stealing my gaze. I'm not going to back down from this condescending jerk.
おう、なるほどなるほど。そんな当たり前のことは答えるまでもないと。実に勇ましい。いや、気概だけなら立派なマスターだが。
だから順番を間違えるなっていうの。一番初めに確認するのは召喚者の務めよ。さあ答えなさい。あなたは私のサーバントなのね。
I step forward aggressively, ready to pounce depending on his answer.
強情なお嬢さんだ。これでは話が進まんな。仕方あるまい。仮に私が君のサーバントだとしよう。で、その場合、君が私のマスターなのか？いやまあ、あくまで仮の話だが。
当たり前じゃない。あなたが私に呼ばれたサーバントなら、あなたのマスターは私以外に誰がいるっていうのよ。
I glare at this rude man, giving my seething head a moment to cool down.
おう、そうか。まあ仮の話なんだが、とりあえずそうだとしよう。それで、君が私のマスターである証はどこにある？
The servant blithely asks, smirking all the while. He's clearly trying to goad me with these questions into losing my temper.
ここよ。あなたのマスターである証ってこれでしょ？
I show him the command spells on my right hand. Don't think I was born yesterday. Father's told me enough that I know what command spells are at least.
納得いった？これでもまだ文句を言うの？
I thrust the symbols at him in challenge, but the lounging servant rolls his eyes.
まあ言ったな。本気で言っているのか、お嬢さん。
His face darkens, looking even more disgruntled.
本気かってなんでよ？
その考えがだ。霊樹があればマスターなのか。霊樹などサーバントを利する道具に過ぎないだろう。まったくそんな形だけのものでマスターブルとはな。私が見たかったのは君が忠誠を振るうにふさわしい人物かどうかだったのだが。
That makes sense, but normally you'd think of command spells if someone asked proof that you're a master, right?
何よ。それじゃあ私はマスター失格？
そう願いたいが、そうはいくまい。霊樹がある以上、私の召喚者は君のようだ。信じがたいが、君は本当に私のマスターらしいな。
He shrugs in mock exhaustion. Uh-oh. I've reached my boiling point. I'm not going to cool down in time.
全くもって不満だが認めよう。とりあえず君は私のマスターだ。だが私にも条件がある。私は今後君の言い分には従わない。
Oh,
それ
Archer.
とこれが最大の譲歩だ。それで構わないな、お嬢さん。
Sorry, father. I'm at my limit.
そう、不満だけど認めるくせに私の意見には取り合わないってどういうことかしら。あなたは私のサーバントなんでしょ。
I ask in a trembling voice. After our spat over the command spells, this is my last desperate attempt at dialogue. And yet...
ああ、形の上だけはな。故に形式上は君に従ってやる。だが戦うのは私自身だ。君はこの家の地下にでも隠れて聖杯戦争が終わるまでじっとしていればいい。それなら未熟な君でも命だけは助かるだろう。
He's looking down on me, declaring that he expects nothing from me.
怒ったのか？いや、もちろん君の立場は尊重するよ。私はマスターを勝利させるために呼ばれたものだからな。私の勝利は君のものだし、戦いで得たものは全て君にくれてやる。それなら文句はなかろう。どうせ君に令状は使えまい。まあ、後のことは私に任せて、君は自分の身の安全を。
あ、玉来た。いいわ、そんなに言うなら使ってやろうじゃない。アンファン。
No more mercy. I've got nothing else left for a jackass like this.
まさか。
She's actually using a command spell.
そのまさかよ、この礼儀知らず。フィアトラーク、アイノイエナーゲル、アイノイエスケナツ、アイノイエスフィアブレヒン。
待て、正気かマスター。そんなことで令状を使うやつが。
うるさい。いい？あんたは私のサーバントなら私の言い分には絶対服従ってもんでしょ。
The emblem on my right hand aches. 3 command spells. They allow a master to issue 3 unbreakable commands to their servants.
考えなさい君は。こんな大雑把なことに令状を使うなど。
It's too late to whine now. I didn't expect this to happen either. I want to die of self-loathing. I can't believe I just burned one of my precious command spells on a petty squabble. Oh, Rin. After that, I retreated from the ruins of the parlor and went to my bedroom. Before me stands the servant whom my command spells compelled absolute obedience from. Supposedly, anyway.
なるほど。君の性質は大体理解したぞ、マスター。
Who would call this absolute obedience?
念のため尋ねるが、君は令状がどれほど重要か理解しているのか、マスター。
知ってるわよ。サーバントを律する3回きりの命令権でしょ。それが何よ。
いいかね。令状はサーバントを強制的に行動させるものだ。それは行動を止めるだけでなく、行動を強化させるという意味でもある。例えば、私はここから遠くの場所まで瞬間的には移動できない。だが、令状で行けと命じれば、それが私と君の魔力で届くことならば可能となる。強制命令権とはそういうことだ。サーバント自身でも制御できない肉体の限界さえ突破させる大魔術の結晶が3つの令状なのだ。まあ今では2つに減ってしまったがな。
知ってるわよ、そんなこと。いいじゃない、まだ2つあるんだし。あなたに命じた規則は無駄じゃないんだし。
確かに これは私の誤算だった。霊児というものは曖昧な命令には効きが弱くなる。私を守り通せ、この戦いに勝てなどといった広く長く効果が続くものには霊児の力が弱くなる。効き目は長く続くが、逆に次の一撃を死ぬ気で放て、あのグラスだけは壊すなといった単一の命令は絶対で、よほど強力なサーバントでも逆らうのは難しくなる。さて、ここまでで私が言いたいことがわかるな、マスター。
わかるわよ。要するに広く長い命令は意味がないんでしょ。効果も戒めも薄いならサーバントは霊樹に逆らって行動できる。そんな効き目の薄い命令をするなら絶対的な単一の命令をした方がいい。
そうだ。霊樹とはもともと自分たちの能力以上の奇跡を起こすためのもの。それを代用の効く命令などで消費する具は許されない。君の先ほどの霊樹はまさにそれだ。私が君に従うかは話し合いで解決できたことだし、仮に霊樹を使ったところで全ての言動に絶対服従など霊樹が100あっても実現できない。
じゃあ私のさっきの霊樹は無意味ってこと？
通常ならそうなのだがな。どうも君の魔術師としての性能は桁が違ったらしい。
Is he shocked or happy? My servant's lips twitch upward, even as he sighs.
桁が違ったって、もしかして。ちょっとあなた、自分が今どんな状態なのか正直に話してみなさい。
The implication dawns on me, and I ask him eagerly.
ああ、誤算というのはそれだ。先ほどの命令では少しはマスターの意見を尊重しようという程度の心変わりにしかならない。だが今の私は君の言葉に強い強制を感じている。君の意見に異を唱えると、そうだな、ランクが一つばかり落ちるようだ。
Interesting. I thought that was going to go the other way, but no, very interesting how that worked.
つまりマスターの意向に逆らうと体が重くなって動きづらい、というところか。
My servant shrugs in resignation. So he's saying that my command spell wasn't a waste, but an actual benefit? He's still being as sarcastic as ever, so it doesn't seem to have had any effect. Besides, even if he's weakened, I doubt even 10 of me could resist if he decided to rebel against me.
前言を撤回しよう、マスター。年齢は若いが、君は卓越した魔術師だ。子供と侮り、戦いから遠ざけようとしたのは私の過ちだった。無礼ともども謝ろう。
The servant straightens his posture and gives me a formal bow.
やめてよ。確かにいろいろ言い合ったけど、そんなの喧嘩両成敗っていうか。
そうか。いや、話のわかるマスターで助かった。
なんか切り返し早いわね、あんた。
何？誤算は誤算だったが、嬉しい誤算というやつだったからな。これほどの才能があるのなら、君を戦いに巻き込むことに異論はない。
Is this his roundabout way of saying I'm a strong master?
じゃあ、霊樹抜きで私がマスターだって認めるのね。
無論だ。先ほどは召喚されたばかりで馴染んでいなかったが、今では完全に繋がった。魔術師であるのなら契約によるつながりを感じられるだろう。
契約？
Now that he mentions it, something does feel weird about my body. It's as if my closed-off nerves are now connected to the outside. Specifically, I can feel a portion of my magical energy flowing to the man before me.
そっか。サーバントは聖杯に呼ばれるけど、呼ばれたサーバントをこの世に留めるのは。
そう、マスターの力だ。サーバントはマスターからの魔力提供によってこの世に留まる。魔力提供量は十分だ。経験的に問題はありそうだが、 君の能力は飛び抜けている。普通の魔術師ならばサーバントを召喚した瞬間に意識を失っているだろう。だというのに君は活力に満ちている。先ほどのレイジといい、この魔力量といい、マスターとして君は間違いなく一流だ。
今さら褒めたって何も出ないけど。
I break eye contact out of embarrassment. Well, I didn't see this coming. I know the command spell is making him obey me, but still, this superhuman servant is sincerely acknowledging me as his master.
で、あなた何のサーバント？
I clear my head and return to business.
見てわからないか？ああ、それは結構。
I take it all back. He's definitely making fun of me.
わかったわ。これはマスターとしての質問よ。ねえ、あなたセイバーじゃないの？
残念ながら剣は持っていない。
I suspected as much. When all is said and done, I got the time wrong. My summoning circle didn't do its job, and my servant was spat out in some random room. It was far too sloppy of a ritual to summon the strongest servant, Saber.
ドジったわ。あれだけ宝石を使っておいてセイバーじゃないなんて目も当てられない。
That's a sentence that people playing FGO would say.
悪かったな、セイバーでなくて。
え？ああ、そりゃ通行のミスだから残念だけど、悪いのは私なんだから。
ああ、どうせアーチャーでは派手さに欠けるだろうよ。いいだろう。後で今の暴言を悔やませてやる。その時になって謝っても聞かないからな。
はい？
What a surprise. The unidentified servant seems to be sulking. Maybe my fixation on Saber offended him.
何？勘に触った？あーちゃん。
触った。見ていろ。必ず自分が幸運だったと思い知らせてやる。
Archer retorts with a sidelong glance. He has a really spiteful air about him. That reaction felt somehow childish and free of malice. You know, he might be a pretty decent guy.
そうね。それじゃあ必ず私を後悔させて、あーちゃん。そうなったら素直に謝らせてもらうから。
ああ、忘れるなよ、マスター。己が召喚したものがどれほどのものか知って感謝するがいい。もっともその時になって謝られてもこちらの気は晴れんだろうがな。
Archer huffs, even as his lips twist into a grin. Oh yeah, this one's got a rotten personality, alright.
まあいいわ。それであんたどこの英霊なのよ。
Archer doesn't answer. His sardonic expression is replaced by a deepening frown.
あーちゃん？マスターである私がサーバントであるあなたに聞いているんだけど。
それは秘密だ。
は？
私がどのようなものだったかは答えられない。なぜかというと、
あのね、つまんない理由だったら怒るわよ。
それは
There's that face again. Archer opens and closes his mouth as if he's having trouble voicing an uncomfortable truth.
なぜかというと、自分でもわからない。
Wait, what?
はあ？何よそれ。あんた私のことバカにしてるわけ？
マスターを侮辱するつもりはない。ただこれは君の不完全な召喚のツケだぞ。どうも記憶に混乱が見られる。自分が何者であるかはわかるのだが、名前や素性がどうも曖昧だ。
気にすることはない。気にするわよそんなの。あんたがどんな英霊か知らなきゃどのくらい強いのかわからないじゃない。
なんだ、そんなことは問題ではなかろう。さまつな問題だよ、それは。
さまつってあん
したね。相棒の強さがわからないんじゃ作戦の立てようがないでしょ。そんなんで戦っていけるわけないじゃない。
何を言う。私は君が呼び出したサーバントだ。それが最強でないはずがない。
He's so straightforward. The Crimson Knight fixes me with a gaze full of confidence and trust. My brain grinds to a halt. There's no deception in Archer's words. He's sincerely giving me more credit than I deserve, even though we've just met. My cheeks are burning. I'm sure I'm blushing bright red right now. Surprise attacks like this tend to be my weakness.
まあいいか。誰にも正体がわからないってことには変わりはないんだし、敵を騙すにはまず味方からって言うし。
I turn away from Archer to hide my embarrassment. I'm sure I'll figure out in due time what sort of servant he is anyway. For now, we have other priorities.
わかった。しばらくあなたの正体に関しては不問にしましょう。それじゃあじゃあ最初の仕事だけど。
早速か。好戦的だな、君は。それで敵は？
Before he can say enemy, I toss a broom and dustpan at him.
下の掃除お願い。あんたが散らかしたんだから責任持ってきれいにしといてね。
A few seconds pass in stunned silence. When Archer finally regains his senses, he grips the broom indignantly.
待て。君はサーバントを何だと思っている？
使い魔でしょ。ちょっと生意気で扱いに困るけど。
Archer cuts himself off. I have no intention of letting him off, and if he tries to weasel out of it, I still have a card to play.
意義あり。そのような命令は
いいの？これマスターとしての命令よ。マスターの方針に逆らったら体が重くなるんだっけ？まあ、あなたはその程度じゃどうってことないだろうけど、そのペナルティは今を掃除するまで続くのよ。そんな状態で明日から戦っていくのは危ないんじゃない？
He stands there for several more seconds with broom in hand, grumbling under his breath. And so the archer in the red mantle closes his eyes.
了解した。地獄に落ちろ、マスター。
Fucking love Archer. And gracefully accepts I wouldn't say he gracefully accepts the order. He certainly did accept it. Now then. It's getting late, so I should rest. I can decide how to deal with him once I wake up. A fateful day draws to a close. No, rather, my fate was shaped by this night. That makes 6, including me. Once the 7th and final master summons their servant, the Holy Grail War of this generation will begin. In the not-so-distant future, the battle I've been waiting 10 long years for is about to commence. I think that's the end of the... Is it not? I kind of want to go until we finish the prologue, but, man, already an hour and a half in? That's crazy. The Holy Grail War. It's a grand ritual that's been repeated for hundreds of years. A fight to the death between 7 participants, of which only one can survive. It's said that a Holy Grail exists in the land of Fuyuki, and that a number of mages fought over it in the past. Their one and only objective was to obtain the relic called the Holy Grail. However, the Grail's origins are unclear. We're sure it isn't the chalice that held the blood of God, but its power is fearsome enough to be compared to the genuine article. That's right. They say the Holy Grail can grant any wish. Only one person can possess it. The Holy Grail can only grant one wish for one person. Despite that, 7 mages are needed to summon the Grail to this land. 7 collaborators create one miracle. So, as you might imagine, it was only a matter of time before they started fighting over the Grail. Like so many conflicts, it started as competition over property rights. The 7 mages equally used the power of the Holy Grail to summon their respective familiars, then do battle over the Grail itself. Only one mage can obtain the Grail. And as a result, 7 people who started as colleagues ended up in a ferocious battle to the death. That's the gist of the ritual known as the Holy Grail War, a struggle for ownership between mages. The mages chosen by the Holy Grail are called Masters, who use the blessing of the Grail to acquire powerful familiars known as servants. Two things serve as proof that one has become a master: the summoning and command of a servant, and the mark of command spells to compel the servant's servitude. The first goes without saying. The archer I summoned yesterday, no, a few hours ago to be exact, is Rin Tohsaka's servant. As for the second, a master must closely guard the command spells that control one's servant. This is probably the most critical aspect of being a master. When I summoned Archer, symbols appeared on my right hand, namely command spells. Stigmata bestowed by the Holy Grail upon the summoning of a servant that marks one's new status as a master. A massive amount of magical energy is compressed into these seals, whose power is fleeting rather than long-lasting. They disappear once they're used, and as their shape suggests, each mark represents a single use. In other words, one only gets 3 shots. A master who has used up all 3 command spells can no longer control a servant, and is as good as dead. Therefore, command spells must be handled with care until the very end, since they're as valuable as one's own life. It pains me to no end that I burned one right off the bat, but it wasn't a total waste, so I'll chalk it up as a win. After all, a servant can turn on its master at any time. If one command spell is what it takes to put a collar on him, then I consider it a fair trade. That's about it for the broader strokes of this business. Once 7 servants have been summoned, the Holy Grail War will begin. Tonight's sleep will be a fitful one. I don't know when the final master will appear, but they could be right around the corner. I feel sluggish. My bleary gaze goes up to the window, only to see that it's already bright outside. Oh. Rin. After a drowsy check of the clock, I make up my mind to skip school today. Sitting up in bed, I heave a long sigh. Not being a morning person isn't enough to explain why I feel so dull. I think Archer mentioned something about it. A master would be out of commission after summoning a servant. I remember it all clearly now. I'd rather not, to be honest, but it's not as if denying the facts will let me do it over. I drag myself out of bed. A mental boxing match rages between the outside air, which is quite warm for winter, and the comfort of my bedsheets. It concludes in a 3-second knockout against the temptation of going back to sleep. I check my body in a mirror. Shit. Every fucking time. Nothing out of place, aside from the loss of half of my usual magical energy. I review the situation. I summoned the servant Archer, who doesn't have an ounce of respect for his master. To make matters worse, he doesn't even know who he is. Wow, talk about a headache. Servants are strong familiars all on their own, but what makes them truly formidable is the secret weapon they each possess. Frustratingly, Archer claims to have forgotten what his is. We're both in the same boat then. I can only pray that he'll sort out his memories. But who knows how long that might take. Good grief. I've really got my work cut out for...
あ、見直したかもこれ。
Damn, he's good. The parlor is completely back to normal. I thought he'd maybe just clear away the detritus, but the room is so spotless I can't help but be impressed. He must have felt bad for wrecking the place. I doubt he would have gone through the trouble otherwise. I guess I ought to commend him for being a more decent guy than I...
日はとっくに昇っているぞ。また随分とだらしがないんだな、君は。
I retract my statement. There isn't a remorseful bone in his body.
おはよう。そういうあんたは随分とリラックスしてるようね。今を好き。
何？一晩過ごした部屋だからな。どこに何があるか把握したよ。おう。ついでだから厨房も片付けておいた。もう少し荒れているかと思ったが、なかなか気の行き届いた厨房だ。一人暮らしの洋館にしては上等だな。
I have a headache. Why do I have to put up with a servant judging my interior decoration? I thought servants all cared about only fighting. Are we sure this guy isn't a defective?
なるほど。本調子ではなさそうだな。昨夜は元気だったが、睡眠をとって疲れが出たのだろう。紅茶でよければご馳走しよう。
Acting like he owns the place. Without missing a beat, Archer produces a teacup and fills it with the expensive reddish tea he's been brewing. There's a lot I want to say right now, but oddly enough, I can't work up the indignation to. The way he does it all is so refined, I've got to admit he might be rather cultured.
まあいいけど、疲れてるのは事実だし、飲む。
I sit down on the chair. The teacup is placed soundlessly in front of me. I take a sip. Oh, it's delicious. I expected as much since it's my favorite Chinese tea, a spring harvest Hongcha. I'd be upset if it didn't taste good. On that note, I'd normally be upset if someone used my favorite tea leaves without asking. It makes me mad, but the tea was brewed so exquisitely that the pleasure it brings overcomes my anger. Got something to say?
ちょっと、何笑ってるのよあんた。
何、感想が聞きたかったが、その顔では聞くまでもないと思っただけだ。
I set the teacup down with a forceful thud.
もったいない。熱いうちに味わった方がいいぞ。私が気に障るなら消えているが。
ごちそうさま。結構よ。私は茶坊主が欲しくてマスターになったわけじゃないわ。あなたもね、頼みもしないことをする必要はないわよ。
そうか。確かに私も茶坊主になったり後片付けをするために契約したわけではない。君がそういうのならばこれからは気をつけよ
う。ええ、私が求めているのは戦力としての使い魔よ。家事をこなすサーバントなんて聞いたことがないし、する必要も特にないわ。
ん？特にはないとはどういう意味かな？
別に好きなようにとって結構よ。それよりあなた自分の正体を思い出せた？
Archer shakes his head in the negative. That doesn't bode well. If he can't remember after a single night, then his memories probably won't return easily. There are some measures I can try today, but...
わかった。あなたの記憶に関してはおいおい対策を考えとく。じゃあ出かける支度をしてあっちゃん。召喚されたばかりで勝手もわからないでしょ。街を案内してあげるから。
出かける支度？いや、そんな必要はないだろう。出るのならばすぐに出られるが。
あのね、そんな格好で出歩くつもり？どう見ても普通じゃないし、他のマスターが見たら一発でサーバントってわかるじゃない。私、自分から私はマスターですなんて言いふらす気はないんだけど。
ああ、そういうことか。それも問題はない。 確かに着替える必要はあるが、それは実体化している時だけでね。サーバントはもともと霊体だ。非戦闘時には霊体になってマスターにかける負担を減らす。
ああ、そっか。召喚されたって英霊は英霊だものね。霊体に肉体を与えるのはマスターの魔力なんだから、私が魔力提供をカットすれば。
自然。我々も霊体に戻る。そうなったサーバントは守護霊のようなものだ。レイラインで繋がっているマスター以外には観測されない。もっとも会話程度はできるから偵察ならば支障はないが。
わ、便利。それじゃあ本当に他のマスターを探し出すなんて難しいんだ。
ああ。だが魔術師は魔術師を知覚できるだろう。それと同じでサーバントもサーバントを感知できる。優れた魔術を知るサーバントならば遠く離れたサーバントの位置さえ把握するだろう。
Archer has it in one. Masters are supposed to be capable mages. The more magical energy the mage has, the better they are at detecting the traces of magical energy. As far as I know, however, there isn't anyone else around with that degree of power.
で、あんたはどうなの？他のサーバントの位置、わかる？
マスター、私のクラスは何か忘れたのか？遠く離れた敵の位置を探るなど、騎士上がりにできるものか？
He has a point. Archer's magical energy isn't on that level. It's likely that only the magically powerful caster is capable of easily locating distant foes.
わかったわ。じゃあ、とりあえず後についてきて、ハーチャー。あなたの呼び出された世界を見せてあげるから。
そう目新しいものではなさそうだがね。それよりマスター、君、大切なことを忘れていないか？
え？大切なことって何？
まったく。君、まだ本調子ではないぞ。契約において最も重要な交換を私たちは未だしていない。
契約において最も重要な交換。
Is he demanding an equivalent exchange? No, that can't be it. The chance to take part in the Holy Grail War is already reward enough for a servant. There shouldn't be anything else left to trade.
君な、朝は弱いんだな、本当に。
Archer sounds exasperated. His oh-so-sardonic manner of speech finally gives me an idea. Come to think of it, he's never once called me by my name.
ああ、しまった。名前。
Job, Rin.
思い当たったか？まあ、今からでも遅くはないさ。それでマスター、君の名前は？これからは何と呼べばいい？
Archer sounds sulky. Oh man, he really is a decent person. I'm sure of it now. After all, there's no tangible benefit to exchanging names. Servants are forcefully bound to their masters by the command spells. While names are key to contracting with a regular familiar, there's no need for a master and servant to be so intimate. But it's important to Archer. He's clearly trying to establish trust between comrades in arms, regardless of the command spells.
私、遠坂凛よ。あなたの好きなように呼んでいいわ。
I answer in a clipped tone, unwilling to let slip any admiration. He'll probably just call me something impersonal like Master or Hey You, which works out just fine for me. Except... Archer chews on Rin Tohsaka for a moment.
それでは、リンと。ああ。この響きは、実に君に似合っている。
He says something really forward.
リン、どうした？何やら顔色がおかしいが。
うるさい。いいからさっさと行くわよ、あーちゃん。とにかくのんびりしてる暇なんてないんだから。
I turn on my heel and storm away, huffing. This is so infuriating. I'm not even sure why. Damn that Archer. Did he say that just to mess with me?
ありえる。こいつなら絶対そうだ。
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Must be all part of his plan to get me all flustered. I better be careful. Gotta work with this wise guy from here on out. I take Archer outside. Fuyuki City, my hometown, is broadly divided into two halves. There's Miyama, which is left over from the village the city grew out of, and Shinto, the developing modern region across the river. My house is in Miyama, the old part. Miyama is itself split into two areas. The European-style neighborhoods, originally inhabited by immigrants from abroad, and the old Japanese-style houses set against a mountainous backdrop. Both areas are situated on hilltops along the outskirts of town. The street dividing the two residential areas is fairly normal by comparison. How normal, you ask? This normal. This is the crossroads of Miyama. On one side lies the road going up the hill to the European neighborhoods where I live. Opposite is the road to the Japanese houses, and between them is the path leading into Shinto, where my school and the shopping areas are, as well as Ryudo Temple in the mountains. We come to the bridge connecting Shinto and Miyama. Years ago, a big train station went up in Shinto, bringing with it frenzied urbanization. They may belong to the same municipality, but Miyama and Shinto couldn't be more different. The name Fuyuki, written with the kanji for winter tree, is supposedly inspired by the long winters here. Which, by the way, are pretty long. Despite that, temperatures are warm. February here is only about as cold as the very start of winter elsewhere. I bet if you randomly started digging, you'd turn up a hot spring or two. Though, of course, our temperature weather disqualifies this town as a hot spring resort location. Our temperate weather. We've got an odd climate where the mild winters suddenly turn to springtime and bloom come April. This is what Shinto looks like. A number of tall buildings have been erected as if in a hurry, giving the hastily developed city a distinctly artificial feel. Oh my fucking god, why do I keep doing this? My mouse keeps, like, drifting. I keep drifting my mouse over very slightly, and I end up clicking on a different window, taking me out of the game. Anyway, hey, artificial feel. It all happened in the last decade or so, too. 10 years ago, there was a large fire that wiped out a residential area. Someone built a bunch of glass and metal buildings on the depopulated land. And here is the center of it all.
ここがシントの公園よ。これで主だったところは歩いて回ったわけだけど、感想は？
I ask Archer, who's next to me. Of course he's invisible.
広い公園だ。だというのに人気がないのは何か理由でもあるのか。
やっぱりそう見える？まあ、ここはちょっとした曰くがあるから。
I look out over the park. You'd think that a wide open space like this would have children playing in it, even on a weekday. But instead, there are only a handful of people. The place feels dull and lifeless.
10年前の話よ。この辺り一帯で大きな火事があったんだって。火は一日燃え続けて、雨が降り出した頃に消えたんだとか。その後町は復興したけど、ここだけはそのままなの。焼け野原になって何もなくなったから公園にしたらしいわ。
Archer says nothing. But I can tell he sensed something odd, even if I can't see him.
気づいたみたいね。そうよ。ここが前回の聖杯戦争決着の地。私も事情は知らないけど、前回の聖杯戦争はここで終結してそれきり。
なるほど。それでこんなにもここは怨念に満ちているというわけか。
わかるの？そういうの。
サーバントというのは霊体だ。そのあり方は怨念、猛襲に近い。故に同じ無念には敏感なのさ。街中でも濃い場所はあるが、ここは別格だ。我らから見れば固有結界のそれに近い。
Tohsaka mutters under her breath. Archer's inflectionless voice mentions an unusual bit of magical jargon. innate bounded fields. Mages call them reality marbles. Reality marbles are considered one of the apexes of magecraft. They're said to be infinitely close to true magic. For the last few centuries, bounded fields have served as a mage's defensive barriers. To put it in simple terms, they're like a home security system with real teeth. Bounded fields are conventionally erected on a piece of land or a building to guard against outside threats. They're merely an alteration of that area that already exists. Reality marbles, however, are something else entirely. You can think of them as a space that consumes reality itself. When a mage materializes their imaginary world, a representation of their mind, and overwrites the real world with it, we call the resulting field a reality marble. It's a large area magecraft that twists, no, rebuilds the world according to a mage's wishes.
リン、どうした？考え事か？
ううん、ちょっと意外だったから。こういう結界だなんてアーチャーのくせに珍しい言葉を知ってるなって。
なんだ、知っていてはおかしいか？
だってそうじゃない。こういう結界っていうのは魔術師にとっては禁忌中の禁忌、奥義の中の奥義だもの。アーチャーであるあなたが知ってるなんて筋違いよ。
I shoot a quizzical gaze in his general direction. In reply, I feel an incorporeal sigh.
リン、英雄とは剣術、魔術に長けたものを指す。アーチャーだからといって弓しか使えないと思うのは勝手だが、私以外のサーバントにそんな楽観は持たないでくれ。
Oof. That does make sense when he puts it like that.
わかったわよ。今のは軽率な発言だったわ。次からは気をつけるからこれでいいでしょ。
リン、ズバリ言おう。君は優秀だが、それゆえに他人を過小評価する欠点がある。成人するまでには強制したまえ。
I'm sure she's gonna love to hear that.
何気に失礼なこと言うわね、あんた。
Break my habit? He's talking about me like an unruly racehorse.
いや、失礼。別にリンがジャジャ馬だと言ったわけではない。単にイメージ通りの表現を使っただけというか。
なおさら悪いわ。
My right hand suddenly flares with pain.
リン、
ちょっと黙って、あーちゃん。
The command spells on my right hand hurt. They're throbbing, almost like a dull alarm warning their owner.
誰かに見られてる。
I scan my surroundings. I mentally weave a detection web and cast it out over the park.
私じゃ見つけられない。あーちゃん、あなたは？
難しいな。私には視線すら感じられん。
ってことは、見てるのはマスターね。
I don't know who it is, but if Archer can't tell, then it must be a master. We don't have all 7 yet, but the fighting could still start at any time. Maybe whoever's watching me is up for an early skirmish.
霊樹は霊樹に反応する。マスターであるのなら、誰がマスターであるかは出会えば感じられるということか。だがそれならリンにも相手が識別できるのではないか。
ええ。けど高位の術者なら自分の魔力ぐらい隠し通せる。いくら霊樹同士が反応するって言っても、その霊樹だって魔力で発動するものよ。大元であるマスター自身が魔術回路を閉じていれば見つけることは難しいわ。
厄介だな。ではこちらはいいように位置を知らせているということか。
でしょうね。まあ私だって家探しすれば魔力殺しぐらいは見つかるだろうけど。
Well, considering you're already being watched.
必要ないと。
そう。だって隠さなければ向こうからやってきてくれるでしょ。こっちから出向く手間が省けるわ。
Archer doesn't respond. Maybe he's irritated with me.
何よ。 自信過剰はいけないって言いたいの？
I ask, a little defensive, thinking of our earlier exchanges. Archer mentally brushes the question aside.
君はそのままが一番強い。はあ、小物には付きまとわせてやるがよかろう。
I can feel the smirk in his tone. I'm not saying I like what he said, but it is enough of an olive branch, I suppose. We start walking around town again. I spend the day taking him to all the important places, and even drop by some less significant spots that might be useful to know. After dinner, I make for our final stop. It's now after 7 in the evening. This is a good chance to show him the best vantage point in the city. The wind howls. We're atop the tallest building in Shinto. The commanding view of the city makes for a fitting end to our tour.
どう？ここなら見通しがいいでしょ、あーちゃん。
はあ、将来君と付き合う男に同情するな。よくもまあ、ここまで好き勝手連れ回してくれたものだ。
何か言った？あーちゃん。
素直な感想を少し。と、確かにいい場所だ。初めからここに来れば歩き回る必要もなかったのだが。
何言ってるのよ。確かに見晴らしはいいけど、ここからわかるのは街の前景だけじゃない。実際にその場に行かないと街の作りはわからないわ。
そうでもないが、アーチャーのクラスは伊達ではないぞ。旧兵は目が良くなければ務まらん。
そうなの？それじゃあここから家が見える？あーちゃん。
いや、さすがに隣町までは見えない。せいぜい橋あたりまでだな。そこまでならタイルの数ぐらいは見て取れる。
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Archers have good eyes.
嘘？タイルって橋のタイル？
I didn't expect his vision to be as good as the telescopes I often see on the rooftops. Sharp-eyed doesn't even begin to cut it.
びっくり。アーチャーって本当にアーチャーなんだ。
リン、まさかとは思うが、君。
そんなわけないでしょ。たださ、あなたってアーチャーって言われには弓使いっぽくないからつい勘違いしてただけ。
それは問題発言だ。帰ってから追求しよう。
With that, Archer goes quiet for a while. He must like the landscape from up here. He's probably considering the layout of the city. I shouldn't interrupt him while he's thinking. I step away from Archer and approach the edge of the rooftop. All I can see from here are the lights below. Headlights flow through the streets, and I can make out people on the way home from work. I can't tell what kinds of cars they are or who exactly is walking. I can see them, but not clearly. It's not unlike how I could tell someone was watching me earlier, even if I couldn't pinpoint them.
少なくとも神道を根城にしているやつが一人いる。
I squint down toward the ground. There are 7 masters in total. I don't know who they are, nor which servants are with them. At this point, every master is probably gathering intelligence on their rivals. Suddenly, I feel someone's eyes on me. There's no reaction from my command spells. I simply sense that someone else is looking at me.
下？
I peer down. People are walking on the street, but one in particular is gazing up at me, as if staring at the moon. I'm not sure exactly who that is. I can't say for certain, and yet I know exactly who. I can't believe that guy. What's he doing out this late?
リン、敵を見つけたのか？
Archer calls out to me. Maybe he can make out my rising hostility.
別に。ただの知り合い。私たちには関係のない一般人よ。
Unable to clamp it down, I irritably snap back at him and step away from the roof's edge. He couldn't have seen me from the ground. I'm sure it was just a coincidence. I haven't given myself away. And yet, my mage side is screaming at me for allowing an eyewitness to catch sight of me. By the time I get back to Miyama, it's 9 p.m. Unlike Shinto, Miyama is mostly residential. After 9, there isn't really anyone outside, and the streets are silent as if it's much later at night.
こんなところね。街の作りは大体わかった？
ん？ああ、町のことならわかる。あとはおいおい掴んでいくさ。
なら今日はここまでね。私もまだ本調子じゃないし、家に戻って休みましょう。
I start up the hill at a relaxed pace. When I notice someone up ahead.
あれ、さくら？
Uh-oh. Now would not be a good time to run into her.
リン、何を隠れている？
黙ってて。うん。あそこにいるの知り合いなのよ。今日は学校休んだし、あんまり顔を合わせたくないの。
As I answer, I keep an eye on her. In the middle of the street, there's the first-year student I know. Oh, and a foreigner I don't. They're talking. No, it looks more like he's trying to pick her up while she'd rather be anywhere else.
リン、知り合いとは外国人の方か？
Well then.
いいえ、知らない。
Seeing him already,
こ
huh?
の辺りは洋館が多いから、どっかよそから遊びに来てるんじゃない？
Even as I finish the sentence, I'm mentally telling myself off for being so soft on that girl.
あ、じゃあ、あいつ人間？
さあ、実態はあるから人間なのだろう。少なくともサーバントではない。
そうよね。マスターでもないし、ただの血は喧嘩か。
Though, even I know that she isn't the sort to get caught up in something like that.
二人とも言ったな。女は坂を登っていく。男は。
Oh. The blonde-haired man descends via the street we came by.
それじゃああなたはここを使って。私はもう眠るけど、何か質問はある？
とりわけ重要な疑問はない。すぐに戦闘を仕掛けない君の判断は正しいよ。今夜は魔力の回復を行うべきだろう。
ええ。それじゃあ明日、今朝の紅茶をよろしくね。
Once I'm back in my room, the fatigue washes over me.
そうだ。眠る前にきれいに連絡しないと。
An annoying priest left me a message. By now, he's probably sent for the backup mage. It isn't my problem, but he is my legal guardian. I owe him a phone call at least.
電話と。
I punch his number into the telephone. Before long, the fake priest picks up.
きれい？私だけど、昨日サーバントと契約したから、正式にマスター登録お願い。
There's a brief pause. Kirai's silence is deafening. I can feel its weight even through the earpiece.
いいだろう。ではどうする？一度こちらに顔を出さないか。君のご両親から預かっているものもある。君がマスターになった場合にのみ、成人前に伝えてほしいと頼まれているのだが。
ああ、それって父さんの遺言のこと？それならもう解読して手に入れたからいいわ。それじゃ気が向いたらお邪魔するからよろしく。
待てリン。マスターになったのなら。
I hang up before he finishes. Rin, if I have to listen to Kirai's nagging while I'm this tired, I have a feeling my magical energy will drain away instead of recover.
さて、これで準備は終わりっと。
All that's left is to sleep. Once I open my eyes, it'll be a brand new day. 10 years ago, my father fought as a mage in the Holy Grail War and lost. Now it's my turn to risk it all for the same prize. God, this really just is go. You know what? I think I'm gonna make the executive decision after 2 hours and call the episode here. Holy shit. Oh man, for a first episode, I really went long, huh? I was thinking, oh, I'm sure the prologue won't be that long. No. How wrong you were, John. Alright, so tomorrow we will finish the rest of the prologue. And, yeah, we'll see what happens from there. So, I will see you all tomorrow for some more Fate Stay Night. Alright, have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye.